I'd like to call to order the meeting of Monday, May the 8th, and if you'd like to join us for the Pledge of Allegiance, please stand at this time. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before I move on with the roll call, I'd just like to state condolences to Mayor Pro Tem Archibald. She lost her father this weekend, so she will not be here tonight. So I'd like to offer condolences to her and her family. And you can take the roll.
Councilmember Archibald. Councilmember Ashford.
Present.
Councilmember Haremza.
Here.
Councilmember Lamb.
Here.
Councilmember Mosherak.
Here.
Councilmember Pemberton.
Here.
Mayor Rapp.
Here. We have the minutes from the special meeting of April 24th and the regular meeting of April 24th. Is there a motion to receive and file?
So move, Madam Chair.
Support.
Councilmember Ashford, supported by Councilmember Pemberton. Is there any changes to the minutes? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes will stand as submitted. We do have 3 presentations tonight. We'll start with number 1.
Proclamation recognizing Saturday, May 13th as Letter Carriers Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive Day will be presented to Tara Anderson, National Association of Letter Carriers, Branch 529.
If Tara's here, if she'd like to come to the podium. Right here. Okay. I'd like to read it. Whereas hunger affects millions of people nationwide, including millions of children, seniors, and military veterans, and whereas food pantry shelves filled in from winter holiday giving are often bare in late spring, and whereas the Letter Carriers Stamp Out Hunger food drive is just one example of how letter carriers work to make a difference in the lives of those they serve, and whereas since the pilot drive was held in 1991, more than 1.82 billion pounds of food have been collected, and whereas in Port Huron in 2022, 55,000 pounds of donated food was collected locally by letter carriers. And whereas this year hundreds of households in our country will struggle to provide enough food for their families. And whereas we recognize all letter carriers for their hard work and their commitment to their communities. And whereas all of the food collected in our community stays in our community, and we support letter carriers' efforts to help those in need in our community. And whereas the National Association of Letter Carriers continues to work to end the challenges of hunger in the state of Michigan through its 31st annual Stamp Out Hunger food drive, and on May 13th, 2023, the second Saturday of May, letter carriers will collect food donations to be distributed to pantries and food banks at a much-needed time of the year. Now, therefore, I, Pauline M. Rapp, by the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Port Huron, and on behalf of council members Archibald, Ashford, Haremza, Lamb, Mosherak, and Pemberton, do hereby proclaim the second Saturday in May as Letter Carriers Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive Day in Port Huron. And I urge all people in our city to join me in this special observance. There you go. You're welcome.
I just wanted to thank everybody for giving us the time to come in and speak on this behalf and to help get the word out in the community about the food drive. It's very important. There's a lot of people in our community that are having issues with food. By giving us this chance to help them get food, and our local food banks are able to use that money to help pay their utilities or something like that. So next Saturday, all letter carriers in the area will be going around collecting food from people's door and taking it to our local food pantries, and all of the food does stay in our community for all the residents. So if they place a non-perishable item, some of the things that people need are dairies, proteins, things like that, that maybe they don't have the chance to purchase for themselves. Yep, if they just put them out at their mailbox anytime in the morning, we'll go around till about 6 or 7 o'clock collecting them. And we do have a lot of local volunteers, so if you see anybody other than a mail carrier, we do have volunteers going around and picking them up also.
Mira? Yes. Yeah, Tara, could you give us a little back history there? How have we been doing? You know, you come up here every year, you know, how's that been going?
It's been pretty good. Last year our numbers were down a little bit due to the pandemic. We weren't able to do a food drive in 2020 or 2021, so we haven't did it since 2019. We did about 10,000 less pounds, but for everyone still trying to get back on their feet after the pandemic, we were pretty happy with those numbers.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mira.
thank you very much.
Proclamation observing the week of May 14th through the 20th as Police Week and May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day.
Good evening. Whereas the Congress and President John F. Kennedy signed Public Law 87-726 in 1962 designating May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week beginning on Sunday in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. And whereas the law was amended by the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994, Public Law 103-322, signed by President William Jefferson Clinton, directing that the flag of the United States be displayed at half-staff in all government buildings on May 15th each year. And whereas the members of the Port Huron Police Department play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the city of Port Huron by unceasingly providing a vital public service. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency, and that members of our law enforcement agency recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. And whereas the Port Huron Police Department will honor Detective Sergeant Roy Chamblou, who was killed in the line of duty on October 10, 1930, and all officers who have sacrificed their lives in the line of duty by wearing mourning bands for a 48-hour period beginning Monday, May 15, 2023. Now therefore I, Mayor Pauline Emmerett, call upon citizens of the city of Port Huron and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 14th through the 20th, 2023 as Police Week, with appropriate ceremonies and observances in which all our citizens may join in commemorating law enforcement officers, past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to their communities, and in so doing have established for themselves an enviable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens. And I further call upon the citizens of the city of Port Huron to observe Monday, May 15th, 2023 as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of those law enforcement officers who through their courageous deeds have made the ultimate sacrifice and service to their community, or who have become disabled in the performance of duty. And let us recognize and pay respect to the survivors of our fallen heroes. Give that to you.
Mayor Rep and City Council, on behalf of the Port Huron Police Department, I accept this proclamation and I'll share it with each and every member of the department proudly. So I thank you for the proclamation and recognition. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have presentation number 3.
Representatives from Sons Outreach will give a presentation on their ARPA funding proposal.
Thank you, Mayor Rapp and City Council members. Manager Freed, we really appreciate you giving us this time this evening. On behalf of the Sons organization, Tyrone and Laura Burrell, and our president, James Kaspersky, who are here along with other board members, we want to tell you that we appreciate your support. My name is Tony Essian, and I'm the founder of Beacon Wealth Group in Marysville, Michigan. Been there for 30 years. And I am the capital campaign manager for the Sons organization. We would like to make a request this evening on behalf of the Sons Outreach located on Nern Street in Port Huron for a grant of $300,000 from the city's American Rescue Plan funding. The grant will be used for the acquisition of the 61,000 square foot Harrison building located at 55 15th Street in Port Huron, Michigan. We will use some of our donor funds to also acquire that building and also for operations and maintenance and rehabbing that building. As part of this purchase, we will in turn deed to the city the green space park and space adjacent to the building to be used as a public park for the Harrison Point neighborhood. This afternoon we had a impromptu meeting and the board has agreed to sign a letter of intent to gift that to the city for $1 to be used for a park. We're going to have some stipulations that we couldn't pull together quite that fast this afternoon, but we'll have those for the next meeting for you. Your consideration will also help us to continue our 31 years of impacting the community's youth. Acquisition of this building will also help to increase our program's outreach from 650 kids to over 2,000. We are currently partnering with the YMCA for a child's program. We're also partnering with the school district so they continue their GED programs there. And we're going to run plenty of vocational programs out of that school, as most of you are aware. The city will create a safe and positive place for children and teens, especially those located at the south end of town. Obtaining the school will also allow us to expand our technical and vocational programs for students, supporting many to find a viable career path impacting workforce development. In addition, this center will greatly enhance our partnerships with other like-minded youth-serving organizations. I would like to take a few minutes just for the council's edification to just go over a few financials. Currently, we have about $650,000 in our budget. $350,000 is for that building. That's for our building fund. And so we also have a $50,000 private donor grant that I was assured of last Thursday. And we are applying for other grants through the St. Clair Economic Development Authority and through the county. So I just want to let you know the status of that. We're happy with that because we haven't even kicked off our capital campaign yet. So to have that seed money, and one of the most generous, of course, was Mr. Atchison. Before he passed, gave us $100,000 in seed money to kick off this program. So I want to make sure that I recognize him this evening. And I'd be happy to entertain any questions you have.
Does anyone on council have any questions? Look down both ways.
Madam Mayor, if I could, I just want to thank Tyrone and Tony and the Sons Board for having this conversation to come to a mutually beneficial agreement for that neighborhood. It was very important to the citizens of Harrison Point to maintain a forever park that their community and their kids have come to enjoy. There's some small details that we'll work out during our subrecipient grant. Some of those details will be, for instance, any development at that park, Sons should have a say in to make sure that Sons have the ability to use that park. But there's a lot of enhancements that will need to be done there. We've already worked with our Parks and Recreation team on a possible playscape, which the rendering is up. That's about a $500,000 playscape there to really make that a community asset. I'd be remiss if I didn't take a moment to say how we got here. And that is from the years and years of tireless and selfless work from Tyrone and his wife, Laura. I want to thank you for all you've done for the children of this community, for building an organization. You've reached the ones that government could never reach. You gave up a very lucrative career here at the city to pursue this servanthood leadership and to pursue this ministry. I want to thank the board for coming alongside them, providing them with the professional expertise and the moral encouragement they need to persevere and to come to this point. But it is a remarkable feat that Sons is at this point with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in community investment, donors. That speaks to the confidence they have in all of you. So just Tyrone and Laura, you are just truly a community asset, and I want you to know how much we appreciate you.
I would just like to add one more thing if I could, and that is I've been going around personally and trying to meet all of our donors, centers of influence and community leaders. I just want to say the three things that were important to them, right? So originally we had started a new build, but then COVID hit and the prices went sky high and we had to reconsider. But that was kind of a blessing because in talking to the donors and the centers of influence, no one had an appetite for a new build. So for this Harrison school to open up and to meet our needs was really just a really good thing. And so we pursued that and we've done our due diligence on that project. And we feel very confident that this is going to be an awesome new home for the Sons organization. I will also just address one other thing, and that is as part of their concerns, donors, centers of influence. They mentioned succession planning, right? Tyrone, along with myself, are no longer spring chickens, and so we're going to move forward, but the board is taking these requests very serious. We have hired Scott Mill to help us walk through the process of going through succession planning. By no means do we want Tyrone to leave or anything like that, but we need to be prepared for when him and Laura say that it's time. So we're taking that very seriously. We're grateful for the opportunity that the school district gave us to make this affordable. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you very much. Councilmember Ashford, do you have something?
Yeah, Mayor Rep, you asked for questions. I don't have questions, but I would like to piggyback off the city manager just to say how awesome the Sons organization has been here for the city of Port Huron and the lives that you had changed in those kids. And along with Tyrone and Laura, the whole battery of volunteers. I mean, they just come from everywhere. They look like everybody in America, and they do just a good job. And the board and the patience that you all have had to get to where you are now. You know, we always could say what it's going to look like, but we just have to trust in someone to know that we're going to make it and you're going to be successful because you're doing the right thing, and nothing ever goes wrong when you're doing the right thing. It always will be handed to you. So God bless you and keep you, and just keep moving forward. And I love the partnership that we always do. Port Huron, you are resilient when you do that. The YMCA, the school district, everybody comes along because everybody can identify with it. Everybody wants to be a part of something winning and something good, you know. So all I can say, this has been a long time coming. I don't know that song, but I know there's one out there like that. But you guys got it. Let's give them another round of applause. Our city sons. Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. I don't know what I could possibly add to that.
Oh, well.
We do appreciate you very much. I remember when you started Sons.
Yeah.
And that was quite a while ago, and you've always had that dream to have a nice facility, so I wish you the best. Thank you. We have a couple of public hearings tonight. Public hearing number 1, please.
To hear comments on the proposed capital improvement program for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023.
Is there anyone who wishes to address the council on public hearing number 1? Seeing no one, I'll declare public hearing number 1 closed. Public hearing number 2, please.
To hear comments on the proposed 2023-24 budget for the city of Port Huron.
Is there anyone who would like to address the council on public hearing number 2? Please come to the podium and give us your name and where you live.
Mayor Rep, council members, I'm here tonight to talk about the proposed budget. I looked at the line item budget in the last few days. I've looked at the budget presentation that we got from the city clerk's office. And it come to a conclusion. It's kind of an outstanding. I had a nasty word I wanted to use that I wanted to call this budget, but I understand that wouldn't be proper here tonight. But let me, first thing of all that really bothers me is the rate increases of administration pay anywhere from 6% to 20%. That's just about the scorecard on the line item budget. The other thing that kind of shadowed me is basically it's on page 17 of the one budget, and it's in a line item on the budget. There is the fact that we're going to change the refuge with a different kind of fee. We're going to make it into a lump sum payment of $285 a year. Evidently, somebody in the administration don't like Headley Amendment. Some of us have been able to survive just living in Port Huron because the Headley Amendment kept our taxes down and stuff. Well, I guess to recapture to avoid Headley, the basic thing to do is you just take out and you throw Headley or throw the village vote under the bus, and you avoid that by putting a flat fee in there. Well, you know, when I looked at it, you know, as a retiree and stuff, I looked at it and the timing of it. So every July now I'll have to look for a lump sum payment that's going to come out of my pension, someplace to pay that extra garbage thing. But I think before we do that, I think I'm going to appeal to the Attorney General of Michigan State because, the voters have some rights. And if you look in some of the states where some of these people have, because of what they've done, they've tried to remove them from office. And they said the only thing you can change to elect a person in office is through an election. You just can't, because you don't like somebody, you just can't get rid of them. And I think that you have a ballot proposal to put this 2.45 mils on there for rubbish collection. I think that should stay there until you guys take a vote to do the lump sum payment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the City Council under public hearing number 2?
Yeah, my friend Ken here brought up administrative raises, and he told me personally the other day that...
Do you want to announce your name, please?
Sure, Julian Ruck. And he told me personally the other day that that one of those raises is something like $12,000 a year more for James Freed. There's a raise there for James Freed, city manager. I saw an increase in it myself when I just looked at it. And I'm just wondering how you can give a raise to somebody who has a pending Supreme Court case against him. How do you give, last time you gave him the raise, you told the Times-Herald that he got the raise because the population of Port Huron is similar to other cities, and in those cities with similar population numbers, those city managers get paid that much, so he should get a raise so we don't lose him. That was your choice of words. But the population of Port Huron is declining. So how is he getting raises while the population is declining? That doesn't make sense if it's tied to the population. And here he is causing problems not just for the community, but for you. As we're going to get into a little bit later in public comment, all the problems that have started that night with Kevin Winke, myself, and you defending him and his actions. And yet he gets a raise. So I just like to draw attention to the fact that, in the next couple of years, James Freed will be earning about 5 times the average income of the citizens of Port Huron. Does that seem right? Nope.
Is there anyone else who wishes to address the City Council under public hearing number 2?
Sure is. Kevin Linke. I wasn't going to talk about this because I didn't really know what was going on, but if what Mr. Harris or what Mr. Rucker's saying, you think he deserves a raise? He's got another lawsuit coming in 2 days for some stuff that he did not too long ago. There's already one pending lawsuit against him. I'm sure what he's charging, what Mr. Schaudi's firm is charging the city is negating, who can even imagine how much it's costing the city? And you think he deserves more money? His behavior is atrocious. The things he's doing are nonsense. He is a liability to the city. Not only is he in a police report asking out city staffers for drinks and stuff of that nature, he's violating First Amendment rights with his Facebook page, which we're going to SCOTUS to talk about that.
We are just talking about the budget right now.
Yeah, I'm talking about the budget.
That has nothing to do with the Facebook page.
It has to do with his behavior, and you're giving him a raise. So we should be talking about is, does his behavior deserve a raise? Like I said, there's another lawsuit coming on Wednesday or Thursday. Is going to be filed in the Eastern District of Michigan, federal court. He's going to be the defendant, and a local businessman is going to be the plaintiff, and it's another First Amendment violation. And so he's costing the city more money, and you're going to find out that it's already drafted, it's going to be filed. So why is he getting more money when he's costing the city a shit ton of money? Make it make sense to me. Make it make sense to the public.
Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the City Council on public hearing number 2?
Brian Farquhar, 19th Avenue, City of Port Huron. I have issue with the trash deal and the fact that it's not in the budget, and you guys, I guess, have just decided to, or the city manager has decided to come up with a flat rate fee for the citizens and do away with the millage. My biggest question with that whole deal is what happens when somebody decides not to pay their $285? Are you not going to pick up their trash? If your neighbor doesn't pay their $285, are you going to then allow them to put their trash in with your trash? Maybe subsequent the fee, neighbors start sharing things. You run into issues there. I addressed this when we voted in the contract and I know there was some reluctance upon all of you to even vote that in, I feel. But we were kind of hogtied, and that was our only option. We need to look into some other options here. I have some pictures I'd be more than happy to share with you guys of the trash collection since we voted in the thing. I'm $49 down in one trash can broken, brand new, bought at the beginning of the year. I've numerous times had to pick up newspapers and other trash that have been left out by the collection. I'm not going to pay $285 a year for that trash collection. I will put a dumpster in front of my house, in my driveway, and I would rather have them come and do that, and I will get rid of my leaves and I'll get rid of the rest of the rubbish that way, than sign on to this. And I think there's a lot of other people that would much rather do that, because in all honesty, the trash company does a crap job, and they're overcharging the city. I mean, Mr. Freed sat here last time and told us that it was on par with it. We're about 15% more than the city of Rochester. Has anybody driven through Rochester lately? It's a lot nicer than the city of Port Huron.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council on public hearing number 2?
My name is Alan Skinner. I live on Stone Street, Port Huron, north end of Port Huron. I read the article and it came out in the paper last week, and a couple of things caught my attention. First of all, I'm wondering if there's going to be any consideration for vacant properties, vacant land. I mean, $285 a year is a pretty steep charge to pick up leaves once a year on a vacant lot. No regular weekly garbage disposal. A vacant house not being used, not generating trash, rubbish. Another item, one bulk item. I put out one broken chair a week. What do I do with the rest of the dinette set? Put it out over the next 16 weeks, the next 8 weeks? What's the definition of one bulk item a week on trash pickup? I don't think that makes much sense. And the last comment that comes to mind is that this was all put into place without any due diligence. City manager made up a price based on recovering costs. Who knows if that's a competitive price? It was stated that the township garbage pickup was not even inspected, was not even questioned, was not even looked at, the various other townships. No comparison made, okay? There are some differences in other townships. Some people don't get their leaves picked up. Well, we have a very bad, expensive situation getting our leaves picked up. Maybe we shouldn't pick up our leaves. Maybe we should be able to burn them like we used to be able to. It's not an eyesore. It's not a hazard. It's not contamination. It's natural. It's burning leaves, or compost them, or do something. Thank you.
Please refrain from clapping in the audience. We like to keep it orderly.
Can we clap or not clap? Because we could clap after other people talk.
That is a presentation. We're not in the middle of comments.
Oh, I think I have, what, 4 minutes or 3 minutes this week?
When you're under public hearing.
Already over?
No, you're fine under public hearings. There's not a limitation on public hearing.
Calling security. I was about to sit down because you are really getting overboard here. Now I even forgotten because I'm getting old. What I was going to say.
I'm sorry. Is there anyone else who wishes to address public audience, or public hearing, I mean, number 2? There's a gentleman at the back.
Hello. I'm Ash Gold. I live on Wall Street. I don't really know much about taxes or millage rates or any of that. What I do know is this $285 garbage increase is going to increase my property taxes by $211. $211. I looked up a few of my other neighbors. They're all paying like less than $100 a year for their garbage taxes. I looked up a couple addresses in Edison Shores. They're paying like $400, $500. There's a house somewhere along here on the water that's paying over $1,000. for their trash. And they're gonna go down to 285, and I gotta go up 211?
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address public hearing number 2?
Dave Whitmore, 1129 Pearl. This 285 per parcel, you know, I got a vacant lot, so I'm gonna pay $285 for that lot towards rubbish pickup that doesn't get any. You know, this has to stop. You have to go back to your little meeting and work on the budget or something. We can't keep paying for you people's mistakes. And that's basically what you're doing, just keep making mistakes and passing the buck on to us. So go back, figure it out, but we're not going to pay it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address public hearing number 2?
Jason Richards, Griswold. So, as you guys hear, nobody likes us. Nobody wants anything raised. Why don't we take a cut from his paycheck and get rid of this fee?
I didn't catch your name, I'm sorry.
Jason.
Jason?
I think you know who I am. So yeah, why don't we cut some budgets? Some of the, you know, I think a payroll cut, and then we can get rid of these fees. That's the easiest thing. Nobody wants it. Your people don't want it. So, I mean, if we're just going to keep funding, you know, fun time for Mr. Freed, that's all I see around here. Every time I go out in the public, I just see him romping around. And I don't think the city needs him anymore. And if you guys can't figure that out, maybe we don't need you anymore. Mr. Rupp?
Is there anyone else who wishes to address?
Good evening. My name is Gary Lokers. I worked for Waste Management over the winter. And just a thought, maybe to try to curb the thought, what if you put up a collective that citizens could take the initiative to start their, I mean, just go private. Like, they bow out and they say, you contact this service and say, hey, these citizens don't want to jump on board, and they could go with that. I worked for Waste Management, and when they heard the number that Mterra took, and they were the only ones that bid, Waste Management was like, man, maybe we should have bid on it. So, I don't know, just an idea, reach out to other service companies and say, hey, we have a group of citizens, they don't want to roll, maybe you could take them on, or maybe even citizens could have the option to not participate. That's, I mean, just a thought. So, I don't know, just an idea.
Thank you. I think we all wish Waste Management would have bid on it as well, or somebody else. Is there anyone else who wishes to address public hearing number 2? Well, you really, well, go ahead.
My friend works for Mterra, and he told me when they accepted it, one of the biggest reasons they raised it, the biggest reason, all the Mterra trucks don't have cameras, they don't have any of the technology a lot of these companies do. They raised it for the simple fact to let you absorb the cost to put cameras and all the technology to make their trucks modern. And meanwhile, he's like, they don't fix the trucks, they don't give us the tools we need to make the job easier. They want to just put cameras and all this technology to babysit us and be like Mother Hubbard. So that's a thought too. I mean, you got a deal from a company that's really passing the buck to you and to them to update their trucks. So.
Well, thank you for the comments. Is there anyone else? You've already spoken under public hearing.
With regard to trash, and I work for Mterra, so I get to put my input in when it comes to something I know something about. All right? So I worked for Mterra, temping off and on for a couple years. I did a lot of leaf pickup. You guys are absolutely right. The company does not keep up. What I can tell you from literally being on the back of the truck and doing the work is that no waste management company is going to be able to keep up with the terms that Port Huron insists on in a contract with a waste management company. For instance, the unlimited pickup on the side of the road, what that ultimately leads to is slumlords evicting people and just putting big piles out of the road. And those slumlords are the reason Mterra trucks have to be there for 45 minutes in one spot because the slumlords are dumping that labor off on the workers. Additionally, landscapers will leave bags and bags of landscaping debris in neighborhoods that they know the composting trucks are going to come by to grab that, because now they don't have to take that to the dump. They save money as a local landscaper. But again, they're dumping on Enterra and any service industry that would try to take on the Port Huron contract currently. Furthermore, other cities, even smaller than Port Huron, have municipal composting. It's not difficult to set up. It's not difficult. Currently, most everything goes to Torella Excavating on Dove, and they make a couple million selling it to a fertilizer. That's where your grass clippings and leaves go. Years ago now, I sat with James Freed in his office, and he agreed that community composting piles on city-owned property, scattered, well-maintained, scattered throughout the neighborhoods, would do a great deal to help all of us maintain our leaf pickup by just taking it down the block, which is part of what we do at Holly's Place. Composting was mentioned as a way to deal with leaves. This is something that is, again, a natural process. There are easier answers than what you're proposing. And a lot of these problems I've been trying to bring to you in more than 4 minutes or under 4 minutes, but I have not been given an opportunity to share these very important details with you about things you do not yet know. So now that you know those things, you can't say you didn't. And I think a lot of what I just said, a lot of people here agree with.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address public hearing number 2? I'll declare public hearing number 2 closed. Public hearing number 3, please.
To hear comments on the tentative budget for the Port Huron Downtown Development Authority for fiscal year 2023-24.
Is there anyone who wishes to address public hearing number 3? Seeing no one, declare public hearing number 3 closed. We now move on to public comment. If there's anyone who wishes to address the City Council this evening, please come forward. Give us your name and address, and you have 4 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor. My name is Steve Fernandez. I live at 310 Huron Avenue, Apartment A. As you're all aware, we consolidated and closed our Fort Gratiot location and brought the whole operation into downtown Port Huron. One of the biggest complaints that I'm seeing from my customer base on their comments has been about parking. And so I thought I'd take a deep dive into parking and see what possible solutions we could come up with. And so here's some ideas, some suggestions or recommendations on some things that we should do, can do, and or we need to do. The first item, the city controls 9 parking lots with a total of 1,590 spots. If you guys want to keep the permit parking, that's great. But I think for the rest of the spaces in each city-controlled lot, they should be deemed free and available throughout the day. So, somehow post some signage that the parking is free and it's all day. Now, this will help alleviate some of the people that own businesses or work on the main corridor, but choose to park right in front of other people's businesses. And that's seriously affecting me and several other business owners that you're going to hear from in a minute. So that was item 1. The second thing, from Pompey's all the way to Alpine Cycle, there's not one handicap parking spot designated with any signage or any clear markings that say handicap parking. That should be pretty easy to resolve. You folks, I don't need to say anything more, we need handicap parking. And that includes all the side streets too. Now, to your credit, all of the parking lots that you guys control have multiple handicap parking spots. It's clearly marked, it's painted, and there's enough room on each side of the spots for a handicapped person to get out with a wheelchair if that's how they have to get around. So you're covered in that regard. But just the main street, each block could use one on each end of the corner. That would really help to bring more of my customers into downtown and more people from around the community into downtown. So that's a key thing. For a personal request, on Grand River Avenue, between Huron Avenue and Michigan, I'm looking to get 1 hour parking signs put up there. So we have a couple that, James, you put a couple 5-minute loading, unloading spots there, and that's great because we're starting to see a lot more of our customers utilize that feature, and we're able to load them up pretty quick. But I think for the rest of that small section of road, I think there's a total of 14 spots, if I'm not mistaken, that this would affect. Now, the 1 hour gives plenty of time for people to go in and do some leisurely shopping, or if they choose to walk across the street to Kate's and have breakfast on a weekend morning, that there's plenty of parking available for them as well. So, you know, get the free parking signage up, get the handicap parking designated and marked so that people can get that, you know, have access to all the various businesses downtown. And then for a personal request, more centric to my location there on the corner of Huron and Grand River, is to get a 1 hour parking signage up there that would greatly alleviate the congestion or traffic that we need.
Thank you.
Thank
Your
you.
time. Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the City Council this evening?
Good evening. My name is Sharon Slangster. I'm from 8535 Emily City Road. So I wanted to let you all know I'm going to go ahead and get started with this. I made my own little freelance advertisement about Port Huron City. This is to be aware of your awareness. It's all the documents in here is provided by the city. It is from here to Ohio, to east, west, north, and south, and anything in between. It is for the quality of sex offenders that you spread awareness, that you allow to reside and to wander the streets of Port Huron. I will do what I need to do to spread the awareness to other communities that I have personal acquaintance with. I do not want any horrible feeling lingering over my conscience that I could have said something. It is sad that you choose to underestimate my intelligence for the law and injustice acts. I am here for the ones you discard, disclaim, and silence, to place them in your own nonprofit mental program to earn money off of their trauma. I will show up every other Monday and give you an update about my progress. I will also tell you my personal story, so everyone on this board will understand how a human being goes from a victim, a survivor, into a warrior. And this is what you all have turned me into, is a warrior. Maybe then you will understand the awareness towards this community. Since you choose not to listen to reason, just remember, everything that is done and over with, there is only one person in this world that you all will have to see eye to eye with for your actions. I'm not the one that's judging you, and it's your time. I'm going to make sure that this is going out. It is a documentation. It has contents in it. It states what is going on in this community. Every single page is from your website for the St. Clair County government for sex offenders. It even has a map in here. And do you know how disgusting this map is? That's Port Huron Township. Everyone, that is the sex offenders for Port Huron Township. Look at all the dots. That's what we are surrounded by. That is what our children are surrounded by. So this will go out to every community that I'm acquainted with. I'm a military child. I'm from the world. I've already started in Italy. I've already started in Chile. I am working my way to Oakland County. I am working my way to everybody. I even have names and numbers of people that even in my lifetime. Miss Sharon, if you ever need us, please let us know. And guess what? They are law enforcement from multiple counties, multiple cities. I am going to make sure everybody that comes into this community for that waterfront that you want to make those little canoes and all those kids and all that stuff, I'm going to make sure everyone I'm aware of knows that this community is nothing but a walking, talking, breathing sex offender community. Y'all have a blessed day.
Is there anyone else who wishes to address the city council? You have come forward, give your name, and you have 4 minutes.
Good evening again. Ken Harris, 1521 Wells Street, Port York. I'd just like to comment just on a couple of things that are on the agenda tonight. You know, I'm looking through the payments, and when we look at the payments tonight, under payment number 3, Johnson Controls, a change order of $170,000, $690. Payment number 11, Tetra Tech, $5,100 change order. Payments number 17, Rank Electric, $16,744 change order. Change order, Waste Construction, $393,151.90. That gives us a grand total of $485,000 in change orders on bills that we're paying this month. I think it's time to tighten the screws a little bit on what our contractors get from us in return, because it's not right. I don't know if it's our engineers who are doing something wrong, that this work escalates as it goes through the process, but we can't live on this. I can't stand here and tell you that, the Portland is a great community if this keeps going on, and it can't happen. And further down, it's minor stuff. A lot of people don't even look at the minor stuff, but I looked at the bills for some of the work that's going on with the fire department and stuff. In the last couple of months, we've been getting kind of bills in here asking for mileage for a certain person. I think this month, it was somebody named Brill. I don't understand if we got a contractor that's partners in architecture, that's not included in their bid. So it's something that we got to look at, whether it starts off with 65 cents a mile or a $485,000. It's a lot of money. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lord Jesus. All right. Julian Ruck, 1423 Lapeer. I figure since a lot of us are here to talk about perhaps the free speech issues coming up a little bit later this evening, I might go ahead and launch that by getting everybody on the same page. Here we are, almost exactly 1 year since the first time I came and addressed the City Council, and that was May 9th of last year. And I came here with concerns about James Freed's ongoing hindrance and just negative attitude and the mistreatment and the lies and the empty promises that he'd been giving me for about a year. You can watch the YouTube video from the city YouTube channel of me coming here on May 9th, laser focused. James Freed is a problem. I need it to be addressed. As a citizen of the community, if we have a problem with the city manager, who do we go to? The City Council. So I was doing what I was supposed to do. You can watch that. I mentioned nothing about any of the rest of you. No aspersions whatsoever. 2 weeks later, this mayor illegally ejected Kevin Linke, and when I stood up and protested to it, none of you did, to be fair. None of you, to be fair, Councilmember Haremzi, you were not a council member at that time, but you guys all were there. So I'm telling you what you saw. I stood up and I cited the Supreme Court precedent which made what you were doing to Kevin illegal. Okay? Now, Kevin and I are not buddies or anything. It could have been anybody standing here getting kicked out for what they had to share and say. I would have stood up. And nobody else did, but I did. And when I came down here and further protested, I was cut short 23 seconds, which you all recall. And though her timer up there may have said 4 minutes, in actual fact, that's not what happened. I have video footage. So my rights were violated as well. And since then, everything I have said here on my 4 minutes or less has been under the umbrella of having my First Amendment rights violated by this mayor and you guys having done nothing about it. Furthermore, you have allowed her to suppress the footage. It's not on the city's YouTube of that particular meeting. Look at May 23rd, 2022. It's not there. a Freedom of Information Act had to be filed to get it out on YouTube on other channels, but you continue to suppress it. So my question is, we know she's a fascist, but as you continue to endorse her illegally ejecting, illegal, I called her a fascist, that's not illegal. That's what we call a fact. When a person of authority infringes on the people's freedom of speech, that is fascist. And you have tacitly endorsed it. And what I find interesting is I've spent the past week or couple weeks trying to figure, how do I draw a line that lets people understand that you have endorsed this behavior and continue to? And now, later tonight, you're going to try to begin to pass a resolution that cuts our 4 minutes down to 3 minutes and then further eliminates what people can say. So you say, it needs to be in a comment in a responsible manner, et cetera, et cetera. The Supreme Court says that it may well include vehement, caustic, and sometimes unpleasantly sharp attacks on government and public officials. That's what the Supreme Court says. Are you trying to catch a second Supreme Court case this year? You want to make Port Huron that famous? They only take 80 cases a year, and our city manager is one of them. Okay? And you keep endorsing his behavior, her behavior, illegal.
Is there anyone else who wishes to address the City Council this evening?
Kathleen McCready, 414 14th Street. I think I want to say thank you to everyone involved with the Harrison School sale. I haven't seen the documents. This resolution 073 was added apparently at the last minute, so I don't know what the scope is. If the scope is what I think it is, it's going to bring a huge level of stability back to the Harrison Point neighborhood that has been lacking since the elementary school closed. I wish Sons all the best. I'm sure it's going to be a good thing for the neighborhood, as will turning over property for a park. I'm skeptical, and I haven't seen the full document, so. But anyway, something's better than nothing, right? And anything on these other topics can wait till the next meeting. I don't want to rain on anybody's parade. And Sons does a lot of good things. So anyway, thanks to everybody involved.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council under public comment?
Brian Farquhar, 19th Avenue, City of Port Huron. I have 3 things I want to speak on this evening outside of the trash issue. That would have made 4, which then loops back into another thing I want to speak about. So number 1, Resolution 64. The lease of a parking lot at 1533 10th Avenue for public parking at Optimus Park. We have 3 streets that border that park right now that are open to parking, and I don't ever see those 3 streets completely utilized. I think it's a waste of my money and the rest of these taxpayers' money to lease a parking lot. If you want to do something about the problem, maybe ticket the people that just randomly park on the grass at the pavilion, and that would solve that issue right there. I used to actually live in that neighborhood, and parking was never an issue. On to my second thing. We're going to skip over the one, and we're going to go to Resolution 73 in Sons here. And before you are a leader, success is about growing yourself. When you become a leader, success is about growing others. And I think Sons organization has shown that and represented that in the city of Port Huron. A good leader takes a little more share of his blame and a little less share of his credit. I think maybe some of you should look into that. And everybody in this room, earn your leadership every day. My last thing, Resolution 67. I think it's a liability for you to start to censor people and what they're going to say, whether I agree with them or you agree with them or not. I also think it's injustice to start limiting it down to 3 minutes. Today, it's going to be a little longer of a meeting. Normally, these meetings don't run much more than an hour. Earn your $50, $100, $150, whatever it is that you get paid per meeting. Is there something that gets paid per meeting for a council member? I believe there used to be. So hourly wage, earn it of whatever. If not, maybe look into take it in from somebody else out of the budget. I don't think you can start limiting people's time and what they say. I think you open yourself up to a big liability at that issue, and whether we like that word or not, that becomes an issue. And respectably, I mean, there is cases that say that I can come up here, I can cuss, I can swear, I can say whatever I want, and you know, freedom of speech protects that. So at that point in time, let's not infringe upon basic civil rights that we have as Americans, much less citizens of the city of Fort Huron.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address public comment?
Greg Whittakin, 327 Huron Avenue. I'm going to start tonight. I'm not really going to complain about some issues that I have with, you know, the parking with the businesses. Steve kind of handled that already, but Steve and I really worked really hard on trying to put a plan together, and kind of looks like that kind of went to the wayside. But tonight I'm kind of here as a voice for a lot of downtown citizens. My wife and I live downtown. We're starting our second summer living downtown. We absolutely love it. There's a lot of concerns with things that go on downtown every day, every night. One of my big things is, why do we still have fencing up at the corner of Michigan and Grand River around that building? You actually have to walk out in the road to get around there. Also, it's up over by Maria's. Again, you have to leave the sidewalk and walk out in the road to get around that. That stuff's been up there for a year, over a year, down at Clay Street, around Cavas's. Nothing's happening there, but there's fence there. Which leads to my next question, or concern. The parking on the sidewalk on Michigan from the Vintage down to the end of by Clay Street. Every day there are vehicles parked on the sidewalk. I'm a grandfather now. My wife has been out there a couple times with our granddaughter. She actually has to go out in the road on Michigan there, on a kind of a blind corner with a stroller. Thank goodness nothing's happened yet, but I hope nothing does. Why do we turn an eye to these people parking on a sidewalk? I don't get that. One of my biggest complaints, and I've talked to the chief before about it, is police patrol downtown, enforcement. You know, we know a lot of people have gotten parking tickets. Kudos to the cadets for going out there and doing that, but guess what? They go to court, they get thrown out. So the next day, they're parking right there again. How are we going to enforce this? You know, Steve wants 1 hour parking. He has business owners that park where he's talking about 8 to 10 hours a day. We've got to enforce that. How can we better enforce the speeding and reckless driving through downtown? I live right on Main Street. Every day, every night, there are motorcycles that ride wheelies right down Main Street, right through the lights. Every night. Last night, it was a drag strip again. Those are just the motorcycles. Now, you know, then you got all the cars and trucks that I know, you know, I was a young guy at one time. I loved loud cars, loud trucks. But to rev those up while families, kids are eating ice cream, sitting outside, and have to go like this because they can't hear, that goes on every day too. And I know a lot of you guys come downtown, you see it. I mean, everybody goes over to McMorran to listen to the music, to have fun. You watch, this summer, it's going to be out of control on the main road out there. We've got to figure out a way to somehow support our police department to dedicate cops down there to make an example of some people. Once we start making an example, I think things will change. I hope. I met with the chief a little over a year ago, and it was a good meeting. At that point, I had asked him if I could possibly find out who our beat officer is downtown. I own Elite Feet, and I kind of wanted Elite Feet to be that spot where our officer could come, stop in a couple times a week, grab a coffee, grab a water, just whatever.
Greg, your time is up.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Marilyn Moncrief, and I just wanted to say, bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me, bless his holy name. And the reason I thank him, I want to thank you, Mayor Rep. I want to thank you, City Manager James Freed, and all the City Council for allowing sons to go forth in their endeavor.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council under public comment?
Good evening, Council and Port Huron residents. My name is Shannon Renard. I'm owner of Moe's Corner Deli, 902 Military Street. I'd like to voice some concerns, kind of piggybacking off of what Steve and Greg were speaking about. There's mixed feelings about the parking situation in town. I definitely think different businesses have different issues going on. For me personally, it's most of my traffic seems to be clogged up on Water Street. And I'd also like to thank you. I did find out that I was approved at least some space for a limited loading zone, which is great, and I appreciate it. We also have the Corpse, which is next door. You just run in and grab coffee. But again, we have people who park from 7 a.m. till 5 p.m. And we also have an issue with City Flats. They have DJ trailers taking up 3 or 4 spots all day right along Water Street. But the main concern with the parking in that, and specifically on Water between Military and 4th, I believe it is the safety of the traffic. It is a one-way. Just this past 5 days, 8 times, 3 times in one day, somebody coming down the wrong way on Water Street to enter onto Military Street. And they do it at exceedingly high speeds. It's 25 downtown. How often do you guys see people going 25? And observing the flow of traffic, I find myself, it's difficult to drive 25 downtown. Many times people are coming in and out of my business through the side door, through the Corpse, and even City Flats, and they're gonna get mown over by somebody whipping around that corner, and you have to look both ways. I don't know an answer to enforce that. Maybe it's a corner camera, more cadet presence, and maybe even slanted parking where it is absolutely visual that that is a one-way. It'll slow down the flow of traffic coming on there onto Water Street, and also help people just recognize that, oh, I can't drive that way. I'm really hoping that we have a very, very safe pedestrian area now that that new park is going in. I'm really excited for that. It's great for my business. I think it's gonna bring more downtown traffic down to our side of the bridge. So I look forward to it, but I'm also scared that there's gonna be little kids that run out into the street, or even just getting out of their car. I mean, there's been plenty of times I've tried to unload things in and out of my van for the business, or just even get to my car after work, or, you know, picking up a coffee. And I've almost been hit by a car. So I just hope that maybe this is an issue that's really specific to that corner that we could look into more as we delve more into solutions for parking. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council this evening?
Hi, hello. My name is Matthew Collins, 2734 Electric Avenue. I just wanted to establish a presence. I know that I haven't been in front of a lot of you, but over the past couple years, I did, with the help of a lot of friends, plan Port Huron's First Pride. I also have public spoken with Miss Rep before at the community college. I have tons of ties all over this, the city of Port Huron. And I'm with the Blue Water Allies today. I noticed by surprise we were on agenda today, so I just wanted to step up and establish a presence. I live here and have lived here for the past 5 years with my daughter, who is 6. I also grew up here when I was younger before moving to Detroit to go to Wayne State. I work at the Raven Cafe, and I often take the opportunity to help young queer voices be heard. Because we have a large queer community in Port Huron, and that's what we are about, making sure those voices are heard. Because I know if there were someone like me standing up to speak on those issues when I was 15, when I was living in an abusive household, that would have saved my life. So I just wanted to establish that presence, and I know it's a new thing on the agenda, so something to put a face to what we're looking at there.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council this evening?
Kevin Linky, Mom's Basement. I was going to come in here, I was going to do some swearing tonight, but after my conversation I had with Miss Ashford prior to the meeting, I'm going to respect the conversation we had and your feelings. I'm not going to offend you. I know I slipped up a little bit ago.
Thank you. I know you did.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
I heard you snicker when I
Can't go back and forth because that takes up his time.
Yeah, so I'm going to respect you.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys are trying to pass this. You're trying to change your rules, and you're talking about it's about efficiency. You're talking about a minute. So even if 20 people came up, meetings would be 20 minutes longer. Big deal. It ain't about efficiency. It's about your fragile feelings. And you guys believe that your fragile egos trump our right to free speech. You don't like the stuff we say about you. Well, you know what? Act better. James, act better. You act better. You ever talk to someone the way you talked about Julian last time? You need to stay in line. You're on that council. You have rules to follow. You don't get to just sit there and say what you said. You did it too. You guys are both clowns. Act like the professionals you are and act like you're representative of the city and follow the rules that you keep trying to enforce. You know, you guys think that you can stop swearing. And like Justice Harlan said in 1971 in Cohen v. California, one man's vulgarity is another man's lyric. You can't stop swear words. The state of Michigan in 2012, the Michigan Supreme Court, or the Michigan Appellate Courts in People v. Boomer determined that swear words protected speech. Your lawyer can tell you you can't stop swearing. And the fact that they signed off on this new proposed rules and told you could do it, they're clowns. Gary Fletcher's a clown. Todd Schaude's a clown. They're giving you terrible legal advice. Get rid of them. They're costing the city a bunch of money because they're telling you guys you can do things you can't. And so we're going to test out your new rules moving forward. And we're going to see what you do. And we're going to see who gets to determine ad hominem and who gets to tell us what we can and can't say. And I'm going to sue the shit out of you again. Sorry. You know I have Mr. Ellison. You know, we're going to SCOTUS over him. So you know I have a really competent federal attorney that's going to take you to task. Next, I want to talk about this CAN Council grant. Mr. Freed brought up a year ago that the CAN Council, it needs help. Kids are getting abused. 220 kids, 220 forensic interviews. Highest number of forensic interviews in any city in the state of Michigan the size of Port Huron. You guys okayed $380,000 to help these kids. There's been no help. They haven't hired anybody in a year. Now they want to hire interns that aren't even licensed yet. They're not even out of school. And once those interns get out of school, they're still going to have to be supervised for 3,000 hours before they can help these kids on their own. And you're going to give them 50 grand out the gate. They're going to harm kids. I gave Miss Ashford a business card today from a local child therapist that runs PCC. Her name is Lisa Stoneberg. She's very highly respected in the community. She's someone people look to and they trust. She personally gave me her business card and told me to tell Miss Ashford to call her, and she will explain to Miss Ashford why Sherry Archibald's solution and Mr. Freed's solution of giving this money to interns is going to harm more kids. For the last year, these kids have been being harmed, and you guys haven't helped. And you think giving them $400,000 is going to help them. What you're not telling this community is buried in that $380,000 is 60 grand for improvements at the Can Council. $60,000 to cut a doorway and to replace some floors. How's that helping kids? What's that doing for child abuse? You've sat here for a year. So these kids, these interns that are now working at the Can Council and are going to graduate, they can't even be on their own for almost 3 years to get those 3,000 hours. There's one master's level therapist at the Can Council who's going to have to supervise these interns. You think that's helping kids? That's how lowly you all think of these abused kids. These kids are severely traumatized. They need experienced therapists to help them, not Sherry Archibald and her interns because she couldn't find anyone. It's BS, Miss Ashford. Help these kids. We have a community. No, we don't. I'm watching. We have a community.
I'm watching too.
Yeah, I'm watching it. I'm telling you what.
Time is up.
No, it's not. Help these kids. This community is suffering. Kids are being hurt.
I'm going to warn you once. I know you're just trying to push me, but you're
knock it off. I don't care. Have me removed.
I'm giving you warning.
Yeah,
Your time
I'm warning. You better start helping kids because they're getting abused, and you guys are doing nothing to help them.
Your time is up. Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the City Council this evening?
Jason Griswold, people aren't happy, right? At the end of the day, I lived here for 10 years. I almost sold my house because I said, you know what? Things have not changed, and I decided not to. I said, you know what? We live in the city. We all live here, right? And we ask you guys year after year after year, council after council, to do something. In 10 years, I've seen very little change. I've seen 3 people kind of run the city, and that's it. And it's sad. I'm not going to swear at you. I'm not going to cuss at you. I tried to say hi to Mr. Freed the other day. Just walks on by. It's just sad. And at the end of the day, I'm pretty busy. I work a lot of hours. I've actually moved companies out of the city. Down in Macomb County. And I'm going to spend more time figuring out what's going on. I'm going to sit with this man, that man, and try to figure out to get our differences together instead of trying to fight each other or come to you guys. You need to come up with a plan than just sit here and everyone's yelling at you and you guys not really responding. Stopping the 4 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever, that's just crazy. At the end of the day, you just got to change stuff. Also, I do have one complaint. AT&T, a couple months ago, just decided to come on my property and dig up a whole bunch of things. And I went out there and I said, what are you guys doing? Well, the city said we can put fiber lines in, so we're just going to destroy your land, and that was it. And I called the city, didn't get nowhere. Still to this day, didn't get nowhere. Trash issues, there's just a lot of stuff. Now, there's beautiful stuff here too. You know, we do live in a very, there's a lot of potential for the city. We just need to figure it out. And we need to come together instead of all this bickering. That's why I'm here. I don't really talk a lot. I think I've talked to you guys maybe 3 times in 10 years, because most of the time I feel like it goes in one ear out the other. But we need to figure out, you got 2 men who hate each other, who actually have now come up here and said, listen, we need to figure this out. So we need to come together, and I'm not just talking these guys behind me, but you guys in front of us. So I don't know if that's 4 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it is, but just, we need to figure it out. Because 10 years, nothing has happened. I wish everyone the best, and I wish you guys the best.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the City Council this evening?
Good evening, everybody. This is my first city council meeting. Hello, Mayor. Hello, City Manager and Council. Hello. Hello. Fellow residents. I just want to start off by saying congratulations to Mr. Tyrone and Mrs. Burrell again. We really thank y'all for everything y'all did for the community and everything y'all do. My second reason for being here.
Do you want to give me your name, please?
I'm sorry. My name is Bernard Williams. I stay on 15th. Okay. My second reason for being here, or my main reason for being here, I didn't know about this was going on tonight, but I'm here to speak on my good friend Julian Ruck and let y'all know what he's doing for the community and stuff like that. He has an urban garden on Lapeer. I'm in the neighborhood right there. He's literally like 1 block over from me, and I see what he do in the neighborhood. Like, I've never seen him take anything from anybody. You know, I've seen him give his time. I've seen him give his knowledge. You know, I've seen him give his resources, and he helped out a lot of kids in the neighborhood. Like, and that's pretty much it. That's all I really wanted to say. That he is a help. Like, so I support him. As a taxpayer, I support him. And if he needed something from me, I would help him, and I have. And I plan on keep helping him. And thank y'all for what y'all do. And have a great night.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council this evening?
Good evening. My name is Gary Lokers. I'm currently changing my address to 1312 Lincoln Avenue. I just want to let you know in the next election I'm going to run for city council. So that's all I got.
Okay. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the city council this evening? Declare public comment closed. We will move on with the rest of the meeting. I know that there was a lot of issues brought up tonight. The city manager has taken note of all of them as far as parking, etc. And I guess I'm just going to say that, first of all, just as an added note here, because of the comments about the raises, there were not 12 and 20% raises given to anybody. It was the amounts that were agreed upon by contract, which have been signed with our unions, and then they also get benefits on top of that, so it is not what it's been said to be.
Also across the board, it was the same.
And it's across the board the same. Nobody got a big increase over somebody else. So I would like to make that very clear. Also, I guess something that I normally don't respond to someone, and this is for my response only, not for a back and forth. I did not suppress the meeting of May 23rd. I have no right to do that. I have nothing to do with it.
And who did?
We're not going to talk back and forth. You had your opportunity to have your 4 minutes, and I'm going to have an opportunity because I'm getting a little tired of it. I don't know, but you know what?
You're the mayor.
I don't have anything to do with that.
You're the mayor.
Colleen,
You don't know. You're the mayor.
We will. Okay, we're done talking. We'll just go on with the meeting.
Colleen, just take a recess or something.
Yeah, because you're right.
Colleen.
We are going to go on with the meeting because you obviously will not let me explain.
You just said you don't know. That was your explanation.
Okay, we're going to take a break.
Take a recess.
Recess for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Told you we're going to test those new rules.
Yeah. We are just going to continue with the meeting. Consent agenda, is there a motion?
So move. Support.
Councilmember Ashford, supported by Councilmember Lamb. Could everyone please take their seat? We are conducting a meeting. Thank you. The clerk would please take the vote.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Haremza?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosrak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Mayor Rapp?
Yes, we'll move on to item number 1 under from the city manager.
Accepting the bid from Gornio Ford in the amount of $44,281 for the purchase of one 2023 Ford Inceptor utility vehicle for use by the police department in accordance with the State of Michigan My Deal purchasing program.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support. Councilmember Mosrak, supported by Councilmember Lamb. Is there any discussion?
Mayor, I just wanted to recap. I know My Deal was having problems previously, so we're back on track.
They claim they have this vehicle, the only vehicle sitting on the lot.
Oh, okay.
So I'll let you know in a week.
You let me know. Yeah, okay, because I know we had that big issue where we skipped over them. All right, thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Any other questions or comments? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Haremza?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosrak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Mayor Rapp?
Yes. Item 2.
Accepting the unit price bid from Michigan Pipe Inspection Incorporated in the amount of $117,675 for the pre-design and emergency sewer cleaning and video inspection services for a 3-year period.
Is there a motion?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Support.
Councilmember Ashford, supported by Councilmember Pemberton. Is there any questions?
No questions, just clarification. This is annual inspection.
Yep, this is for all the videoing of before and after a project and during a project as well.
Right, thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Is there anything else? Take the vote.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosrak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Haremza?
Yes.
Mayor Rapp?
Yes, and I just remembered I was a little remiss on the consent agenda, and I did not read the items, so I will do so now. Authorizing an amendment to the city's retirement plan, confirming and approving single lot special assessments for fines, assessments, and/or cost of removing blighting factors and/or causes of blight, as well as the abatement of nuisances. Confirming and approving single lot special assessments for fees or charges for foreclosed, vacant, and abandoned properties. Recommending the Michigan Liquor Control Commission approve above all others the application of Can Marina LLC at 1913 Riverside Drive for a resort Class C license. And recognizing Blue Water Allies as a nonprofit organization in the city of Port Huron. Those were the items under the consent agenda. We have one more item under from the city manager. If you please read it.
Receive and file the quarterly financial report for the 9-month period ending March 31st, 2023.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Madam Mayor and Council, you have the written report there. We are trending slightly higher than year over year, but that's because of the unusual capital outlay expenses associated with ARP funding. But beyond that, things are looking good.
Any questions for Mr. Freed?
No, just to comment on the on this. I see where the ARPA has been so much of a big help here in the city of Port Huron, and for what we had to do, and it certainly has been spent in a diversity of areas. You know, throughout our parks, our nonprofits, we're able to do work around here with our contractual stuff as far as the city buildings. So it's been a lot of work, and so without that ARPA, and you just think how it started off when we had our people, you know, in Washington voting so much against it, what it couldn't do, but yet all of our cities throughout are really just singing their praises and what that has able to lift from us and U.S. taxpayers, because that's money that very well could have been ate up our general budget, our general fund. So we just, I'm just grateful that we had that piece of legislation come through. Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Is there any other comments? We will take the vote.
Councilmember Mosherak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Haremza?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Resolutions, please.
Authorizing 20 payments.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Councilmember Pemberton, supported by Councilmember Mosherak. Is there any questions on any of the payments?
Mayor,
Yes,
I don't have any
Councilmember.
questions, but I guess that one of the public speakers threw my thunder. You know, I'm always one to champion behind these change orders, and this is a whole lot of them that we haven't had these for some time, and I can appreciate the explanations that are on them, you know, as to why they got them. They got deep into a job, and they found out discovered some things that had to be done. And so that is what we had previously requested of you to do, and you did that. So I want to thank you very much. But I think we still have to be prudent in the fact that when we do sit down and negotiate these contracts, we make sure, you know, that it won't reach those alarming rates to add up. I think I had 400 and something, and the other guy was doing public office had the same thing. So you got something to say?
Yeah, I was just going to note that of the $400,000, $393,000 was a change order on a $3.2 million contract. $3.2 million contract at our wastewater plant. When you drain a multi-million gallon storage tank that holds sewage,
Right.
You find valves and things that have to be replaced. And so we don't know what we're getting into. It's over 60 years old until we drain and dismantle the site. So that change order, given the scope and size of the project, is reasonably appropriate. I would note that for every change order in which we increase costs, there's also a corresponding change order for another project which reduces costs, because these projects are based on quantity estimates. And it's oftentimes not until we get into a road project or a sewer project that you find out you need $50,000 in less sand or $50,000 more in 22A gravel. So they're estimated amounts. Those change orders are designed in the contract to account for what we find underground.
Yeah, and then again, that can work both ways, you know, the decrease and the increase. But the greatest thing of all is that we have the experience, and we should know what we're going into, you know, based on the experience from the other. Thank you.
I was going to bring that up too, that there's also ones that decrease as well as ones that increase. So
absolutely,
more than just that. Is there any other questions, comments? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Haremza?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosherak?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Item 2.
Accepting the agreement with A. Peters Property LLC for a lease of the parking lot at 1533 10th Avenue for the purpose of public parking at Optimist Park.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Support.
Councilmember Ashford, supported by Councilmember Pemberton. Could we have a little background on this, seeing as it was brought up?
Yep, Madam Mayor and Council, on the street next to the skate park, there is a meatpacking plant there that receives large trucks every single day. Those trucks require large turning radiuses to maintain operations at the meatpacking plant. So because of those large turning radiuses of the trucks, there's a large section of no parking along that street. So we really don't have the available street parking because of the turn radius issues, and we don't want to hinder the operations of that job creator for our city. So they have agreed to lease us this underutilized parking lot. We make the overlay it and make the upgrades to it, and we can use it. And if for some reason they terminate, they would reimburse us 70% of the cost if for some reason down the road. So it's a good private public partnership to address the parking issue there, to get those cars off the road within walking distance of that skate park. Because we are conscious that if we don't figure out a solution, we will have cars dumped on the grass and dumped, you know, anywhere they can find.
Good.
Any questions on this item? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Haremza?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosherak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Item 3.
Approving the agreement with BMJ Engineers and Surveyors Incorporated for professional design engineering services for the court and tunnel area resurfacing project.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Councilmember Mosrek, supported by Councilmember Pemberton.
Madam Mayor and Council, this is standard designing for the overlay systems. I will note, I just want to say the roads here: Howard Street, Pine Street, Wall Street, Court Street, Union Street, Chestnut Street, White Street, A Street, Bancroft Tunnel, Jenkinson, Johnstone, 7th, 8th, and 9th Street. We are investing heavily into maintaining sure our roads are getting better and being good stewards of the taxpayer dollar. This is a $56,000 design contract.
Any questions for the city manager? We will take the vote.
Councilmember Haremza.
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb.
Yes.
Councilmember Mosrek.
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton.
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford.
Yes.
Mayor Rapp.
Yes. Item 4.
Approving the amended ARPA proposal from the St. Clair County Child Abuse and Neglect Council.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support?
Councilmember Pemberton, supported by Councilmember Lamb.
Madam Mayor and Council, this is a minor amendment to adjust the original time frame to allow for renovations for the 2 therapy offices.
Is there any questions from the council?
No, I don't have any questions. Mayor, I'm going to be voting no on this because I do have outstanding conversation, and I don't really like to go for something that I don't have full information, so I'll be voting no. And the information is based on facts.
Is there any other comments? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Lamb.
Yes.
Councilmember Mosrek.
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton.
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford.
No.
Councilmember Haremza.
Yes.
Mayor Rapp.
I abstain. I'm on the board. We'll move on to item 5.
First reading, approving an amendment to the City Council's Rules of Procedure. Note this resolution requires council to postpone final consideration until the next regular meeting or such other time determined by council.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Pemberton, is there support? Is there support? I'll ask one more time. Is there support? The motion dies. Resolution.
Mayor, just a point of order, just because you couldn't get a support,
No, it's done.
It's
We
done?
will not be revising the rules.
Oh, no, I mean,
Brought forward, it's done.
I know it's done tonight, but I mean, can it appear back on a future date or no?
Not in its current form.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Resolution number 11.
Approving the allocation of American Rescue Plan funding to Sons Outreach in the amount of $300,000 to purchase the former Harrison School building located at 55 15th Street.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support. Councilmember Pemberton, and supported by Councilmember Lamb. And I think we pretty much talked about this, so I
Yeah.
don't know that there'd be any more questions other than just say, great.
Madam Mayor, just from a technical aspect, I will work with Sons for a subrecipient grant, which we hope to execute before in short order so that we can get them their funding and we anticipate closing before the end of the month. As part of that subrecipient grant, there will be some deed restrictions added that will allow Sons to have a say in anything that would be developed on that property. That would ensure that they have the ability to use the property as well with the neighborhood kids. And so we will work with that as well. But I just want to say I think this is a huge win for that neighborhood, for those kids, especially the kids of Sons. And so I just appreciate them being good collaborators. This was an easy deal to broker.
Mayor, yeah, I will abstain from voting on this, but according to Robert's rule, I can say something in terms of discussion, but I encourage my fellow council members to vote yes on this. As the reason I am abstaining is because I've served on the board on the capital improvement, and in these day and times, you never know who's going to turn over a rock, and always pride in my integrity. So, but it doesn't negate me from saying that I am 100% behind Sons, but I just can't vote for us tonight. Thank you.
We will take the vote.
Councilmember Mosherak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Abstain.
Councilmember Haremza?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Mayor Rep?
Yes. Is there anything else to come before the council this evening?
Mayor Rep,
Yes.
just real quick, as a proud member of our local Moose Lodge 158, about 6 weeks ago, I was contacted, asked to greet the CEO of the Moose International was coming to Port Huron to visit. Had a great visit. Proclamation of welcome was typed up, and in return, this Tommy Moose, a stuffed bear for kids in distress. They sent me 2 cases to distribute, so I dropped a case off at Chief Platzer's office and a case at Chief Nicholson's to be distributed properly, and I just wanted to thank everybody at the Moose and Moose Lodge 158 for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything else from anyone else?
Yes, Lauren Tyrone and Sons, Kathleen McCready, she came before us doing public public there, but she is she is still one of the outstanding citizens over there, residents of the Harrison, and she certainly laid the foundation over there for that community and everything, but she was just being very humble when she came up there, that she didn't know everything, but certainly that's someone that, you know, you want to embrace and keep there. And her friend next to her, I forgot your name, but you gotta, you know, it's nothing, you could set up shop anywhere, but when you look around next door to see who your neighbors are, you want to make sure you can breathe and you got help. So you got a lot of help in her. And then also, about all the comments that came, I wanted to actually, and this is a mayor's job, she could do that, but I just want to do it from my perspective, what we said, you know, and so you are right, this is what we got elected for. You know, we don't always want to hear happy talk, we want to hear what you have to say, but we want to be able to hear it clear and, you know, without all the other drama. You know, we could just let us know what it is. You know, you can amplify your voice or whatever, but it's a two-way street, you know. How we act up here as leaders, you know, there's hot buttons, you know, and hopefully we can keep it all together, and we hope that you can keep it together also in the spirit of civility. I just witnessed someone sent me a text of their council meetings. It will just blow your hair back. I went, oh my goodness, you know. So I just don't want us to become one of those kind of a councils or cities that just gave up on making common sense out of what we have to do and helping each other. So we are here to serve you, not to be served, but to serve you. So, and I'm sure that James and the mayor took down all that stuff, and I know I did, that you brought before us tonight. So, and I won't kid you not, you know, it is hard because we got one thing in common. We all might look different, but we're all human, and we have feelings, you know, and it counts for something. That's why we have to learn how to treat each other like you should want to be treated. Because if we had to trade seats, I want to think that you could sit up here as long as we sit up here and have to endure what we endure, even though we did run for election. There's some good people up here. We care. Okay, and we don't have the answers to everything. That's why we need you. Thank you.
Mayor Rep, may I make a comment also?
You may.
On the order, we do have a book that we follow in case there's something that wasn't addressed, and these are our guidelines, Robert's Rules of Order. They assist us to make sure that our meetings run in order. We're here. We come from a wide variety of backgrounds. We have a wide variety of opinions. We discuss topics. We come to conclusions that we feel would be the best for our city and the citizens that reside here. I don't feel that any one of us should be subjected to any kind of slander, vulgarity, or any kind of name calling. We are all adults and we need to be able to communicate back and forth. I love it when people have the time that they come and talk to us in public comment, and you have my 100% attention as you do so. When things turn negative with languages, then that behavior is very negative, and I don't think the outcome is very good, and I personally don't think it should be accepted. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can't silence speech. I don't know what you sound like you're trying to silence speech. You guys have
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Lamb. And I guess I will just add to that I wasn't trying to be argumentative with anybody in the audience, and I am here to listen as well. But by the same token, once I've given someone 4 minutes to talk, I think I'm entitled to talk also, without being interrupted or yelled at from the audience. So I apologize if for the outburst perhaps, or maybe the trying to get things in order, but the bottom line is we deserve the same respect up here of listening, of somebody to listen to us as well. And we did take all of your comments. I'm sure we all did, as far as the different items, and a lot of decisions are very difficult in the city, and I know it looks simplistic, and it's not. And you know, changing the refuse collection cost is not good for some, and I realize that. However, what is fair about that if everybody's not paying the equal when they get the same service, wherever you live? So I'm just saying that. But you know, it's easy to throw bombs at us sitting up here, but we all put a lot of time in, and we don't get paid for it except to show up at this meeting, and it's a lot of time put in outside of this meeting, hours upon hours upon hours. So we're not getting a big salary. We're not getting a big bonus for sitting up here. All of us give from our hearts and give back to the community, and I think there's a misnomer of how much power I have as mayor. I am one of 7 council members. I have no more power, and I have no more of a vote. So to accuse me of doing things on my own is ludicrous, because I cannot do another thing unless there's a vote of council, a majority vote of council. I am here as the person who runs the meeting, ceremonially, I'll get that out. I'm out in the community, and I am out in the community, and but as far as any more power, I don't have any more power than the other 6 people who sit up here. So to blame me for everything is not fair. So I've said my piece now, and thank you very much. If there's nothing else to come before
Madam
the
Mayor,
council. Yes.
I have 2 things. I'd like Todd Shouty to come up, but as he's coming up, I just want to say we have a tough job, but there's people who have tougher jobs, and that is the nurses and teachers in our community. This week is National Teacher Appreciation and Nurse Appreciation Week. So be sure to reach out to your kids' teachers and take an extra moment to tell them what they do is valued in our community. I myself went through some pretty serious medical issues in the last 60 days, and I've never had medical issues until now in my life, honest to God. And so I've learned to come to appreciate good nurses in our community who take care of our residents. So teachers and nurses, be sure to take a moment this week and tell them that they're valued in our community and that we appreciate them.
Thank you.
And did you? I thought you said you had.
Yes, Todd Shouty.
I was going to say you had a second thing.
Good evening, and I know it's getting late. Just a couple things I just wanted to point out to the council members, just so they have a little bit of a better understanding of how these meetings are supposed to work. Tonight was not a good example of how they're supposed to work, I would say. And I think everybody would agree with that. So basically, there's 2 things that govern how we're supposed to conduct these meetings. One is the Open Meetings Act. It requires us to allow members of the public to speak under rules that we establish. And the only way we have to enforce those rules is if somebody disrupts the meeting and doesn't follow the rules, is to have them removed. That is the only way we have to enforce the rules of the meeting. So when you have people who interrupt, you're faced with a choice of either letting them disrupt your meeting and not being allowed to say what you have. In fact, tonight our mayor had difficulty even speaking, which is, you know, this is a public meeting and this is an opportunity for people to speak. Your only choice then is to remove somebody. And that probably has to happen if we're going to be able to conduct these meetings going forward. The second thing that we have to comply with is obviously the First Amendment. And there's a lot of confusion about how the First Amendment works. The First Amendment has long been recognized as having certain areas that are outside the scope of the protection of the First Amendment. Those include things that we would all recognize, such as incitement for imminent lawless action, so-called fighting words, speech, what they call integral to criminal conduct, defamation is not protected by the First Amendment. And it also doesn't protect speech that is lewd, obscene, or profane. I know some people got up and talked today about their view on whether profanity is protected or not from the First Amendment. Right now, based upon existing U.S. Supreme Court authority, it is not protected speech. I know there was a reference to a Michigan Court of Appeals case from, I think the representation was from 2012. It's actually 2002, and that was regarding a statute that did not even include the word profanity. So profanity is something that under current case law is something that we can restrict. And think about why we have that. We often at these meetings have children at these meetings, or we could have children watching from home. That would be one reason why we would want to prohibit profanity. If you look at, what our city council meetings are, our city council meetings are what's called a limited public forum. We're not an open public forum for anyone to get up and say whatever they want. Somebody gets up and talks about Port Huron Township, that's not within our jurisdiction. This is a meeting to talk about the city of Port Huron and issues facing the city of Port Huron. The mayor often starts her comments with, we're here to hear comments about things within the jurisdiction of the city of Port Huron, and that's what the meeting's about. And we have a right to limit it to that. That's the whole purpose for this meeting. As a limited public forum, we do have the right to have reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions. We can place limits on the number of minutes somebody speaks. We have the right to limit the conduct at the meeting. Basically, the First Amendment prohibits us from regulating speech based upon the content of that speech. We're not supposed to discriminate against people based upon their ideas. We may have someone who gets up and advocates for something that is unpopular today. That speech is protected. That's the whole point of the First Amendment, to give people an opportunity to say things that maybe many of us disagree with. So if our rules are content neutral and they're designed to allow us to conduct an orderly meeting, then they're proper. They're proper. And there's nothing wrong with, at a public meeting when it's being disrupted, it's not a violation of the First Amendment to have somebody removed from a meeting when they disrupt that meeting. Those are all things that we have the right to do. There were a lot of good comments tonight, and I think, part of the whole point to the public comment part is for people to get up and voice their views on issues that you're facing. You may only have or heard one side of it. You haven't heard how it impacts other people. Tonight we heard a lot of comments about the refuse fee, and that's proper to hear those comments and take those into consideration. But when we get to the point of our meeting is disruptive, we can't even speak in our roles as government leaders, we have an issue and we've got to address that. Okay? And I know the mayor has been overly generous and overly, basically has allowed people to say their piece, and that's fine. But at some point in time, I think we as a city, to be able to conduct a meeting in a peaceful fashion, are going to have to have people remove if they continually disrupt from the audience, interrupt council members while they're speaking, or speak outside of the period provided for public comment. So I just wanted to give my views on that.
Well, thank you.
Anyone have any questions?
Does anybody have any questions?
Just a comment, well done.
Yeah, thank you. And one of the things I'll say is about the rules that didn't get a second. If you set aside the time limit of going from 4 minutes to 3 minutes, the changes that were being made, there was only very minor changes, and they were actually to allow more speech than
Right, yeah.
They were actually more relaxing of those standards based upon some more recent case law. And case law has moved in the direction of being more accommodating and letting people say more things as part of the definition of free speech.
Yeah, and Todd, Mayor, and Todd, and I'm on the EOA, that's the Elected Officials Academy, and we are almost the only out of probably 2 or 3 of us only have 4 minutes. Everybody else had 3 minutes. I was surprised when I saw that come across my desk.
Yeah,
did you know that?
I knew you were at the high end, but
yeah.
I mean, I also have sat at the St. Clair County board meetings, and they had I think they have a 3-minute response rule.
They all have 3 minutes.
And I had one meeting where it started at 6 p.m. and I didn't get out of there until after midnight.
Oh, Lord.
Because public comment went so long. And that's just, I mean, obviously it's proper for you to consider your time, your desire to conduct city business.
Right.
And, you have a right to come up with reasonable rules to restrict the time. I mean, most people are able to say what they need to say within 3 minutes. They also have the right to communicate with you by email. And they have, or letters, they have alternative means of communicating and expressing their ideas. They can do handouts to you as well under the rules. They can say, hey, here's the main points, but here's my handout, and here's the issues I want. I mean, there's a lot of ways they can get a lot of information to you.
Right.
So,
Thank you for the clarification. I appreciate it.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you. If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Meeting adjourned.